Hello friends, welcome to Insights Again Initiative. In today's video, we are going to discuss about three topics. Like I said earlier, any important topic is there, we will discuss the detailed analysis of that particular topic. Otherwise, we will try to discuss two or three topics in a single video. As usually, before we discuss today's topics, first we will see today's theme. Okay, so today's theme is about the places in news. As a UPSC aspirant, what you have to concentrate, especially in relation to places in news. So these are the following things you have to observe. First thing is places very often seen in news at the international as well as the national level. Especially when any meetings are happening or any summits are happening, those places you have to do the map pointing. Then countries, regions, disputes in news recently. Countries like Armenia, Azerbaijan, they are in dispute. That kind of disputed lands. And next, and Russia, Ukraine as well. Anything happening for the first time significant in the world country, okay, like anything which is happening due to any war because of the natural resources or anything which is happening for the first time, launching of any satellite from any particular place or any telescope being installed in a particular place and all these things. In every year around 3 to 5 questions are repeating and they are very easy to score as well. Regarding the next we will see the theme based questions, how the questions can be asked. We'll see Siachen Glacier is situated to north of Nubra Valley. So here, why it is in Siachen Glacier? In 2020, Siachen Glacier was in news, especially when we were having some kind of tension between the India and China. Next year, even Galvan Valley as well, it was in news. So when a particular place in news, obviously you have to pick that place and you have to check where it is and in which part of India it is and borders and rest of the regarding the facts related to that you have to go through it. Next, consider the following countries. This is one more type of questions. How many of the above countries share a land border with the Ukraine? This question is 2023 based. Why this question asked? Obviously, examiner tried to figure out whether you know the boundary countries of the Ukraine as well as the Russia, because Russia and Ukraine are fighting each other. The same thing now, the Israel-Palestine. You know that with Israel, different countries are sharing border. If you remember, so type the country names which are sharing border with Israel. Okay, type in your comment section. These are the places in news and how the questions can be framed. Next, topics of the day. In today's topic, we are going to discuss about these three following topics: electoral bonds, environmental impact assessment and Sinai Peninsula. So one is related to polity and governance, the other one is related to environment and third one is related to IR, international relations. Of course, it is related to geopolitics as well, but mainly in this context, you have to see the map pointing in terms of international relations. First, we'll see the electoral bonds. Now, students, electoral bonds is all about a funding mechanism which is provided to any registered political party in India. Why it is in news? First, we'll try to understand. Supreme Court recently said that they will go through the petitions challenging the electoral bond scheme on 31st October onwards. There are few petitions in the Supreme Court, and those petitions are challenging the constitutional validity of the electoral bonds, as well as they are claiming that rather than improving the transparency in electoral funding, these electoral bonds are increasing the opaqueness in the electoral funding process. Generally, these bonds are bearer in nature. That means on the bond, whoever the bond donor, the donor name will not be there. And the eligibility, any citizen or any incorporated body are eligible to buy this bond. Here you have to understand foreigners cannot buy the electoral bonds. And they have to fulfill all the KYC norms, know your customers. The lifespan, within 15 days of the purchasing of the bond, we have to deposit in any political party account. Otherwise, the money which is spent on the bond, that money will go to the PM Cares Fund. That you have to understand. And next, and of course, these electoral bonds can be used to give money to any political parties registered under Section 29A of the Representation of People's Act 1951. Next, period of purchase. Obviously, these bonds are available for 10 days in the months of January, April, July and October in specific years. And tell me students, if you are aware, in which bank these electoral bonds will be sold. Please put your answer in the comments. Next, these electoral bonds are available in the denominations of 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 1 million, that is 10 lakhs as well as 1 crore. These are the available denominations. Already explained the electoral bonds, available denomination, and who will issue. State Bank of India is only the bank which is authorized to issue electoral bonds. Next, we'll see why the bond validity. We discussed the way it can be redeemed and purchasing window and donor name will not be available on the bond. That is the reason it is known as bearer bonds. Why they were introduced? They were introduced mainly to bring transparency in electoral funding and to reduce the amount of money that a political party can accept in the form of cash. That amount of cash reduced from 20,000 to 2,000. And it also announced that introduction of the electoral bonds as a way to make funding more transparent. That means obviously now funding will be more institutionalized. If government wanted to audit such kind of funding to political parties, they can easily they can do the audit with the help of independent agency. That can be possible. It was introduced in 2018. At that time, Arun Jaitley was the finance minister. Of course, with the introduction of electoral bonds, certain acts were affected. That means certain acts subjected to amendments. They were Income Tax Act 1961, Companies Act 2013, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act FCRA 2010, and Representation of Peoples Act 1951. These acts subjected to amendments. Issues associated with the scheme. Issues. First thing is the electoral bond scheme. They act as a check against the traditional donation, as it insists on checks and digital paper trials of the transaction. So that means first thing is it was able to reduce the traditional funding, but as there is no limit on the electoral bonds, some companies which are just creating as a proxy and they are donating a lot of money to the political parties, and they are buying unlimited number of bonds and they are selling, and even they are claiming the tax as well. The issue of anonymity as well as selective anonymity, we can say in the electoral bonds. The information can be known only to the ruling party but not to other parties. Asymmetrically opaqueness, that is what I told you, and channel of black money. There are fears that black money will be channelized to some companies and the companies will buy the electoral bonds and they will donate to political party. So because of this, it is contradicting its basic idea of transparency, possibility of extortion from the companies, and compromising the right to know. That means where the money coming to the political parties, that is also not being revealed, and it is against the free and fair elections. These are some of the challenges or allegations on the electoral bonds, and let's see, Supreme Court is going to start hearing from October 31st. Our next concept is related to environment impact assessment. Students, recently floods in Sikkim as well as Uttarakhand. After seeing all these things, of course, in recent days in Himachal Pradesh as well. After seeing all these natural disasters, we can observe that there is a need that developmental projects have to be thoroughly go through the environment impact assessment process, EIA. This particular topic is related to environment, GS3. The incidents such as Teesta Dam breach, Sikkim, floods and landslides in Himachal Pradesh. So Indian development model, it is calling for the need of more effective implementation of the EIA. Now let's see some information related to EIA. EIA stands for Environment Impact Assessment, and it is a process defined according to UN Environment Program as identifying environmental issues, social and economic impact of projects before the project implemented. So it is like an assessment and how that project is going to impact in all these issues. And it also suggests various alternatives as well to reduce the impact. The EIA also helps decide appropriate mitigation strategy. That means in case there is an inevitability of project, then obviously what are the mitigation strategy also this suggested by the EIA. Background of the EIA. In India, this EIA first time began in the form of 1976 and 77 when the Planning Commission directed the Department of Science and Technology to assess the River Valley project. You know that in 1970s and 80s, River Valley projects are very popular. Even the Jawaharlal Nehru described these river projects as modern temples of India. So, and this River Valley project actually, it comes under the union list under entry number 56. This subjective study extended for all the projects which required money from the Public Investment Board. So later, this environment clearance, it was just as an administrative decision of the central government. That means this entire process ingrained in the environment clearance process. Now it has become a routine process, norm. For the first EIA notification, 1994, and EIA notification will be given by the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change under the Environment Protection Act 1986. When this act was made at that time, Prime Minister was Rajiv Gandhi, and Rajiv Gandhi policies were more pro-environment friendly policies. Environment clearances are mandatory for setting up of some specific project. Later, some challenges identified in this act and they were been rectified in the Environment Impact Assessment Notification 2006. This is about the decentralization. Decentralization is one of the hallmark of this EIA notification. State governments also, they can give environment clearance in certain cases. Later, this 2006 notification, it is also been amended. Now the draft form of the 2020 notification issued. This draft form experienced so much of criticism because this draft EIA seen as pro-industry and compromising the ecological concerns. That is the main issue. And this is the second topic of today's video, environment impact assessment. And the third one is Sinai Peninsula. Israel-Palestine war going on, lot of aid which is coming to Israel, that aid is halted at Sinai Peninsula. It is taking much time from dispatch of this aid from Sinai Peninsula to Israel. The Sinai Peninsula is actually Sinai Peninsula is actually, it is present in between the Egypt and Israel, and it is sharing border with the Gaza Strip as well. We discussed that Egypt is supporting the Israel rather than Gaza and West Bank. This you have to understand, because previously Israel occupied Sinai Peninsula and now the Sinai Peninsula been surrendered to the Israel later. Now they are having some good friendly relations. In this context, we try to understand. Recently in Sinai Peninsula, COP27 meeting was held. Tell me guys, where that COP27 meeting was held. Hundreds and tons of aid from several countries, they have been waiting in Egypt Sinai Peninsula to deal for its safe delivery to Gaza. You know that Gaza, so many people, they are experiencing life-threatening situations because of the Hamas attack on the Israel. Of course, Israel is doing the counter-attack and so many civilians, they've been injured and they required humanitarian aid. For that, this, the help has to come through Sinai Peninsula. Now, it has been waiting in Egypt, Sinai Peninsula for the approval process. Sinai Peninsula, it is a peninsula located in northeast Egypt. It serves as a land bridge between the Asia and Africa. Recently, our Prime Minister visited to Egypt as well. He has been conferred with the Order of the Nile Award as well. It is a sovereign territory of Egypt. Boundaries to the north of this peninsula, Mediterranean Sea, and the east, Israel and the Gaza Strip, and the west of it, Suez Canal. Tell me guys, who was the Viceroy of India when Suez Canal was inaugurated? The Sinai Peninsula, it bordered to the southwest, Gulf of Suez, and south by Red Sea, and the southeast, Gulf of Aqaba. And Egypt share maritime boundary as Aqaba, okay, maritime boundary with Jordan and Saudi Arabia. History. In the late 19th century, Egypt, including the Sinai Peninsula, it became a part of the British Empire, and it was under the British control until 1922. In 1922, it was given independence. And thus, in the year of 1922, in India, non-cooperation movement was stopped. If you remember rightly, the non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement organized together in protesting of this, Khilafat movement was in protesting of abolition of the Khalifa post. The peninsula was occupied by Israel forces in the Six-Day War in 1967 and it given back to Egypt in 1982. Geography. Egypt characterized by mountain ranges, desert, plateaus, coastal region. So this is about Sinai Peninsula and halting aid towards the Gaza. Now let's see yesterday's video question. Consider the following statements. The Hindu Marriage Act allows the divorce by mutual consent after a mandatory 6 months wait period. Yes. If Supreme Court convinced that by using its Article 142, divorce can be granted irrespective of the 6 months waiting period as well. So both the statements are right. So answer is C. Both 1 and 2. Next. What is sweep? So read these 4 statements carefully and put your answer in the comment section. Mains question. What is Environment Impact Assessment, EIA? Discuss its significance in various development projects. What is the role of EIA in various development projects? This is today's mains question, students. As we reach to the end of this video, in today's video, we discussed about 3 topics. Okay, one is electoral bonds, second one is EIA, third was Sinai Peninsula. So how is this initiative? So please give your feedback as well. Whenever there is a breaking issue, obviously we will discuss about that particular issue. Otherwise, we will discuss a bunch of topics so that your preparation also will be very easy for the upcoming prelims exam. Please feel free to give your opinion. And this is the detailed analysis regarding the recent current issues.